All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I hope everybody's having a good Friday night. It has been a very, very interesting month or two. Yes, indeed. So, for those of you paying attention, we can all see that certain people are losing their minds about Doge and what they are doing. I got a whole bunch of stuff for you guys today, but I'm going to keep it light, keep it fun, because I find this personally vastly entertaining. Before we get to that, though, there are a couple things that I want to point out. Have you guys seen there was a speech that, let's see here, that JD Vance gave.
And unfortunately,
Here
when
it
I
is.
look at Europe
It's
today,
fairly
it's
short.
sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners.
It's relatively short. It's under 3 minutes, but it is a chilling reminder that America is really the last bastion of free speech left in the world. And no, it's not perfect, guys. We know that our free speech here is not what it could be. It's not what it used to be, but it's still far, far better than what other countries have. I tell you, man, I was really iffy about JD when he was announced, and wow, at the things that he's been saying. Let's see. I think that was the one, but let's see here.
When I look at Europe today,
all right, here we go.
It's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners.
Yep.
I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Quran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder.
Yeah, because, his friend getting unalived, murdered, was not bad enough. But of course,
And as the judge in his case chillingly noted,
listen to this.
Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person, but no.
Nope.
This last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones.
This is wild. I I knew about the stuff before. I did not know about this. Listen.
Warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizen suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
Yeah, they are telling people now that you could be in violation of the law by praying in your own home. And of course, as we saw, ladies and gentlemen, during 2020 and thereabouts, people are more than willing to report what they believe to be unlawful behavior. It never ceases to amaze me how quickly people will flock to authority, how quickly they will break down and just do whatever they're told. It's mind-blowing. It really, really is. All right. So I want to show you guys something because I think this is wild. Absolute insanity. All right. So check this out. And this touched me so much. I was like, what? That I screenshotted it and shared it on my fascist book page. So this is a guy named Farzad. Let's see here if I can get, there we go. It's at Farzyness. Farzad. So it says, I'm having an impossible time getting this chart out of my head. Doesn't this very strongly imply that the entire bureaucratic apparatus around our nation's capital is geared to serve one party? How else would you describe this? And if you look, right, it's 294,185 votes for Harris, 92.5%. Trump got 6.6%. Robert Kennedy by this time, 0.9%, right? It gets worse. Okay. Here's major metropolitan areas around DC, overwhelmingly, right? Now, check this out. Now also consider, this is Jack Farrington at Jack Farrington says, now also consider that criminal defense attorney searches have skyrocketed in the same geographic area. Farzad said, this one's even better. Look at this lawyer. Boom. It is, 93% is insane. And Rohan Patel says Virginia and Maryland have a huge percentage of the federal agency's employees. Demographics and politics are far different than DC, and the federal workforce is located all over the country. Farzad says still seems very partisan. And agreed, when you have the entire bureaucratic machine for one particular party, well, you're going to have issues. All right. Let's get into the Doge stuff and what we've uncovered, because this gets really, really interesting. George at Behezy Tweets says, breaking. Judge John McConnell, the crook who ordered the Trump administration to unfreeze Inflation Reduction Act funds, disclosed that he owns $250,000 stock in a company that received $75 million from the act, the Inflation Reduction Act, right? George says this is the most egregious conflict of interest ever. This judge should be impeached and kicked from overseeing any future cases related to this administration. People are like, what? So Southern Bell said USAID, one of the activist judges blocking Trump's agenda, Judge John Bates, is married to the founder of a USAID funded NGO. Carol Rees is a Democrat lawyer who started Hope for Children in Ethiopia, a longtime USAID grant recipient. I wonder now, do all the judges that are trying to block Trump have conflicts of interest? And there are lots of questions and replies that are extremely, extremely interesting. I urge you guys to check it out. Obviously, I can only cover so much, but there are some very, very interesting posts. Let me get to the next thing here and I'll show you. It's a very, very good video that really revealed a lot for me. Let's see here. Let me get this. Here we go.
In case you missed it, here's the Doge report for today. So where is our money actually being spent? Well, they found that $3 million is being used to study steroid-enhanced hamster fighting. I think you could just go to like a bar at night, watch a couple dudes get into it, and know what steroids will do for a fight, okay? $2.3 million has been used for studying cocaine effects on beagles. Why don't you just spend about $1,500, get yourself a Coachella ticket, get a lawn chair, sit back, watch. You'll understand what cocaine does.
She's not wrong.
Coachella, just go there. $600,000 in parrot romance. That's important.
Yeah.
It's definitely really important, actually. We'll keep that.
Yeah.
$500,000 in racial aggression in mice. I'm sorry, do mice give a shit? They just want your food. They don't care if you're black, you're white,
Right.
you're Asian. They don't care. They
They
just
don't care.
probably want to get your food and your crumbs and in your house and on the streets and gross. Okay.
I am mildly curious as to whether they're trying to figure out whether different racial mice do different things, or if they're talking about like, do mice, are they more aggressive towards a certain race? I'm unsure, but I don't care enough to really dig into it. I just know I don't want to pay money for it. I want our tax dollars to go to something else.
1.1 million training mice to binge drink. Just go to UGA, pick a sorority house, pick a fraternity
Training
house, watch
mice
them
to
on the
binge
weekends.
drink. Yeah.
They'll binge drink, study the effects after that. Free. Just again, lawn chair. See, I think we should just promote buying a couple of lawn chairs and go to a couple of these events. You'll get all the studies you need.
Yeah.
And willing participants.
Certain colleges too.
2.1 million encouraging Ethiopians to wear shoes. That's effective for Americans. Thank God.
That helps us a lot,
That's where
right?
our money is going. We know we can't buy groceries, but let's make sure those Ethiopians wear their shoes.
That's
I
absolutely.
can't get my kid to put their shoes on. Okay, can we maybe put a little money in that? Or sometimes I'm like, where's the other shoe? Why do you only have one? What happened to the second one?
Right.
Okay. 187,000 verifying that kids love their pets. Unless you're raising Jeffrey Dahmer, your kids like their pets. It's just natural.
Right.
Most people like pets more than like humans. I do. Yeah. 2.7 million studying Russian cats on treadmills. Why don't we take 2.7 million and try to encourage more Americans to use treadmills?
There's an idea.
Finally, 875,000 studying cocaine effects on quail mating. Again, launch.
And that's it. I am convinced at this point that a lot of this is just a reason to legally purchase cocaine on taxpayer dime. That's what I think. Yeah. Let me show you this, because this is absolutely incredible. Oh my, here we go. Incredible, I might add. It's a few minutes, well worth it. This is Mr. Green. Beautifully said.
This was fire.
Under the guise of foreign aid, USAID has been an unapologetic front for a far-left agenda. It has become self-evident there weren't a handful of foolish policies, but rather a coordinated strategy of radical, idiotic, and often anti-American priorities. Idiotic, you say?
Yep.
Millions to teach Moroccans how to make pottery? The Moroccans were making pottery before we were a country.
Yeah.
This entire debate today and the crocodile tears from Democrats just goes to show what's wrong with this town. Not a single Democrat I've heard has expressed dismay at the many examples of crazy, wasteful spending. I don't understand the objection to a deep dive in how we spend our money.
Right.
But perhaps it's the fact that over the last several weeks, a massive surge has occurred in the search for a criminal defense attorney. That probably says it all. 5 times in this city, any other city in the nation. I'd like to remind the committee that President Kennedy unilaterally created USID through an executive order in 1961. Yet the President Trump, orders a momentary pause after winning a mandate for reform, and Democrats cry, constitutional crisis. As long as you're spending other people's money, no one bats an eye.
Oh.
But the second you want to save taxpayer dollars, the swamp cries wolf, or in this case, unprecedented constitutional crisis.
Yep.
This breathless, fake outrage from the left is utterly insane. And you know what the American people, you know they can see right through it.
We can.
The generosity of Americans and the blessing of giving aid to others has always been one of our most valuable tools for diplomacy. The American people have a proud history of championing aid to our fellow man, but lawless bureaucrats have poisoned that goodwill. Many USAID programs are wasteful and actively sabotage our diplomatic relationships by forcing woke ideology on our partners. Just look at PEPFAR, a beacon of hope in the fight against HIV/AIDS, yet the Biden administration even weaponized this crucial program, jeopardizing lives and undermining our relationship with African nations. Under Administrator Powers, our message to Africa was explicit, as it was heinous. Abort your babies and violate your religious convictions, or we won't grant you life-saving aid.
Yeah.
Let me be crystal clear to those who've been complicit in this betrayal. Firing those involved is just a start. We have a long way to go.
Woo.
And one last point. I want to correct the record on a couple of things. First,
Listen.
Elon Musk and the team that is working does not have access to personal data. They don't have access to your social security number. That is a lie. Elon Musk does have a security clearance. He has a top secret security clearance. By God, he makes the rockets for NASA.
Right.
But the suggestion that he somehow can't be trusted to dig into how we're spending our money is nothing but a smokescreen to hide the corruption and the wasteful spending that has occurred there. And I am personally offended at the left's continued references to 19-year-olds and 21-year-olds in their doing work.
Listen to this.
There are 19-year-olds who have won the Medal of Honor defending this country. Just because you're 19 doesn't mean you're some child who can't be trusted. It is offensive. And if you're 19 years old out there, 20 years old, and you're serving this country, by God, your service matters. Keep serving. We thank you for that.
Yes. Yes. And I've said this before, you know, I find it interesting that the left wants to come after the age of some of the people on the Doge team, right? Talking about the 19 and 20 year olds that are right. But children can make life altering decisions about how they feel about their gender and whatnot. This is from a couple of days ago. I'm not sure if I mentioned it. Sean at Sean on the right says, did I just hear the White House press briefing question correctly? $2.7 trillion in improper Medicare, Medicaid payments to people overseas who weren't entitled at all to the benefit. The entire national debt, he's like, this cannot be real. The entire national debt is approximately 36 trillion. And you're telling me that you sent checks for $2.7 trillion to people overseas. I'm telling you right now, by the time we're done with these audits, we will find at least 36 trillion worth of waste, fraud, and abuse. The entire national debt is waste, fraud, and abuse. And is he wrong? No. I mean, it is absolutely nuts how much is just going out to the ether, being laundered, sent who knows where. I got more of that for you in just a minute. But first, at Hammerjack90, so this goes back to the whole Hope for Children thing. It says, I checked the IRS website And Hope for Children hasn't filed since 2023. According to the records, Reese does not draw a salary, so she's not personally profiting from the charity. It does, however, present a clear conflict of interest nonetheless. And it's talking about Hope for Children that's ran by the judge's wife, funded by USAID. And the claim, like they said, I'm not saying it's wrong because the NGO does good things in their opinion or whatever. But I do agree the judge has no business ruling on this case because that is a massive conflict of interest. Doge lets us know that Doge.gov site is online. And before we get to that, U.S. Department of Education, USD.gov, tweeted, setting the record straight about IES and its contracts. IES was founded in 2002 to, quote, fund development and rigorous testing of new approaches for improving education outcomes for all students. They then say $14 billion and countless contracts later, our students are no better off. Lowest decile students perform worse in math now than at IES's inception. There has been no meaningful increase in average math scores from IES's inception to pre-pandemic. 10th percentile, 25th. Average score right here, 75th, 90th percentile. This is what they say it was established in 2002. So as you can see, there is no meaningful real change. It starts here, goes from 235 to 237. There was like a 10 increase in the upper and a decrease in the lower. It says here, instead of improving outcomes for students, here's where taxpayer dollars were going. $4.6 million contract to coordinate Zoom and in-person meetings. A $3 million contract, $3 million, guys, to write a report that showed that prior reports were not utilized by schools. So $3 million to tell them what they already knew. $1.4 million contract to physically observe mailing and clerical operations. Dude, like, can you imagine getting paid $1.4 million to watch someone mail stuff? I mean, I'd do it. You guys want to, if you know somebody out there paying $1.4 million for you to stand at the post office, I'll do that for $1.4 million. Yeah. So Lee Zeldin had tweeted, in partnership with Doge, I just canceled 9 more wasteful EPA, DEI, and environmental justice contracts, saving American taxpayers another $60 million. I'm just warming up. I have zero tolerance for even a penny of your hard-earned tax dollars to be wasted or abused. I'll say this. It's nice to see these government officials pretending that they care for a change. Remember, guys, most of these clowns have been in office well before Trump was reelected. And so they could have done this years ago. They chose not to. But moving on. Doge said $1.9 billion of HUD money was just recovered after being misplaced during the Biden administration due to a broken process. Today's contract update, 167 cancellations with savings of approximately $115 million, including a $2.23 million contract for HHS for, quote, equity assessments of existing program policies. And here's a little reminder for you guys. Look at the unconstitutional. Doge.gov is now live, as I said before. And Sean and I are going to do a dive into this website one night. We're going to walk through it. We're going to show you guys everything that's there. In the meantime, by all means, Doge.gov, take a look around. There's so much here, like so much. But Look at the unconstitutionality index. This is the number of agency rules created by unelected bureaucrats for each law passed by Congress in 2024. So just last year, 18.5 agency rules were created for each law. That's nuts, guys. That is absolute chaos. In 2023, there were 44.38 rules per law. 2024, 18.45, 2022, 12.83, etc. Code of Federal Regulations, 98.68 million total words, 215,000 total sections of regulation. And it goes deeper and deeper. Look at all this. This is our federal government. Look at load more agencies. Look at all this crap. Unreal, guys. Unreal at the state of our federal government. I've said it for years that the federal government is just out of control. Absolutely out of control. Let's see here. There was one other thing. Oh, this is kind of cute. Here we go. All right. So Europeans beg JD Vance to become president of Europe. Babylon B. Let's see here. It says here that Asian women actually earn more than white men. A lot of women believe there's no hope for success because of sexism and misogyny. Let's see here. There is one other thing that I'm looking for. In the meantime, guys, I don't know if you guys have seen the volume of cuts that have occurred and the other interesting developments from all of this. But one thing I am super excited about is when all this comes to fruition, right? When it all comes through and we get to see the shocking scope of everything. Let's see here. There's one thing that I wanted to show you. So, Kash Patel has been advanced beyond the committee. We covered that hearing. He has not been confirmed by the full Senate, but they have the votes. Let's see here. And there's one other thing that caught my interest. Did you guys see that an aircraft carrier had an incident? Let's see. I think it was the Truman, right? So near Egypt by the Suez Canal, apparently the USS Harry Truman, see, it had a picture. Now it's gone. Look at that. The Harry Truman and a merchant ship got a little too close to each other. Let's see. There we go. Exterior damage of USS Harry S. Truman.
When others are giving you one-topping pizzas for $9.99.
Ads suck. I hope you guys got the chance to take a look before I'm not playing the ad. But how does an aircraft carrier and a massive merchant apparently there was a container ship, but either way, large merchant vessel. How does a carrier and a ship like that come into contact? Now, people are saying that it's very, very tight. Well, the canal itself obviously is small, but the area when you're coming out of the canal is like a massive traffic jam, is what I'm being told. there's a huge influx coming in and a huge outpouring coming out of ships that are all trying to go through the canal. And it's very, very tight. But how do you let anything get that close to an aircraft carrier without the escort ships opening fire? Like, I don't know. And maybe I'm wrong. It's happened once in the past. Kidding. But the aircraft carrier is the pinnacle of our Navy. It is the most important single ship to project power. And somehow, some way, we allow some dipshit to crash into it. Really? Like, it blows my mind, man. It really does. I'd be interested to see what all comes of that. If you guys have not heard about this story, I'm going to cover it very briefly. Let's dig in here. So it says here, a U.S. official confirmed the collision occurred while the carrier was off of Port Said, awaiting to enter the Suez Canal to transit back into the Red Sea. So they hadn't gone through the canal yet. The collision involved a rare collision. The collision involved a rare collision of two large vessels as the 100,000-ton aircraft carrier collided with the 53,000-ton merchant vessel Besiktas M, a Panamanian-flagged cargo ship. There are no reports of injuries, nor is there flooding aboard the carrier, which carries a crew of 5,000 sailors, and the incident is under investigation. Another U.S. official said the damage to the U.S. carrier is above the waterline. It's unclear what the impact will be on the carrier's operations. The Besiktas M was damaged, but not significantly, and is under its own propulsion. No injured among the ship's crew. The Truman is powered by 2 nuclear reactors, 4 propulsion systems. Sixth Fleet statement said the ship's propulsion plants were unaffected and said to be in safe and stable condition. Aircraft carrier and its strike group had been operating in the Red Sea since mid-December as part of the mission to thwart Houthi militant attacks launched from Yemen at commercial vessels transiting the vital waterway. Well, the carrier had arrived at a naval base in Crete earlier in the week, a rare break for the strike group that has been in constant operations, though the pace had ebbed as Israel's ceasefire with Hamas took effect in mid-January. The Houthis have claimed their attacks on shipping were being carried out in support of Hamas. Just in case you guys hadn't heard about it. Again, how do you let an aircraft carrier and a ship as big as that, merchant ship, 53,000 tons, how do you let that happen? Like, who's in charge? I assume whoever's in charge of the carrier, and it blows my mind that this was allowed to happen. I genuinely don't understand it. Okay. Oh, here. This is the one I was looking for. All right. So let's get to this. Amazing. So this is a channel that I don't push quite as hard as Memology 101, which, as you guys know, is one of my favorites. But this is also a really good channel. It's called John Talks 2. Let me bring this up for you and we'll get into it. Amazing. Here we go. Hold on, I got to move me so you can read the headlines. It says Doge's power expands as federal agencies start planning large-scale layoffs. Elon Musk wants to tear out entire federal agencies. It's like a weed. If you don't remove the roots, the weed will grow back. He's right. Doge starts purge of FEMA by firing top agents who put up illegal migrants in 5-star hotels. Elon Musk's Doge website goes live and promises receipts by tomorrow. Doge rips through education department, cutting contracts, staff, and grants. Acting NASA chief says Doge to review space agency spending as hundreds take buyout. Turn that down some. Democrats are fast losing the argument on Elon Musk's Doge revolution. Democrats rail against Musk in first Doge hearing. Dems fail to land viral moment at Doge hearing. Yeah. Democrats oppose Doge efficiency effort and offer no solution. Yeah. Former Dem presidential candidate says Democratic Party acting pathetically to thwart Musk's Doge. Dean Phillips, Democrats pathetically fighting Doge steamroller. They're trying. Really glad I turned that down. I forgot about that scene. So they are trying desperately to walk it back, to be like, no. This is horrible. They're causing the world to end. And Lee Zeldin claims that Biden's EPA hid $20 billion in a scheme to funnel it. Let's see here. I lost the other one. It's fine. So there are some real shakeups coming at all levels of the government, including here at home. I think we're going to see some very interesting admissions and very interesting exposés coming up in the near future. I will tell you that there are some extremely concerning things happening here in LaPorte County. There are elected officials elected by the will of the people in a free and fair election that are trying to be run over by other elected officials who believe that they have the power over them. Look, guys, all these offices are different, but equal in their own way, right? Let's look at council versus commissioners, for example, right? That's the legislative versus the executive branch. They're neither one is above the other. They're on the same level, right? You can't have the commissioners trying to tell the council what to do, and you can't have the council trying to tell the commissioners what to do. That's like the president running Congress or Congress running the president. It doesn't work that way. Same thing with other elected officials. You can't just tell them to do what you want. It doesn't work that way. We, the people, do that. That's our job, not other elected officials. It's interesting, guys. That's all I can say right now. But there are some things in the works here in LaPorte County in order to really bring some justice. It's wild here, man. And it really is. I'll say this, though. The local Republican Party is doing what they can under the circumstances. And they are, as a matter of fact, guys, here in 2 weeks, we have the election for the new party leadership. And I think we're in good hands. I really do. Now, unless something major changes, I haven't heard of anyone else running for the chairmanship. If you know someone, by all means, let me know. Our current party chair is running for re-election, and I'm supporting him. I think he's done a phenomenal job. I think there's still work to be done. I'd like to see certain things. We don't agree on everything, but he has done a phenomenal job. Our chairman is Al Stevens, and I think he's kicked butt, man. I really do. There was a period at the beginning where I'm like, we'll see. But he really ran with it. And the party itself, in my opinion, is healthier than it's been in a very long time. I'm actually excited to go to the functions, and not just because I'm hanging out with, people that I consider friends now, but also because regular people from the public are showing up, right? That's the part that when I say regular people from the public, we're all regular people from the public, but no former connection to the party. They've never gone to this stuff before. They've never showed up to these kinds of functions because they, like I, believed that every single organization, even those down at the local level, were corrupt and destroyed. And many of them are. Don't get me wrong. Luckily, here in LaPorte County, we were able to get what I consider a real patriot in a position of leadership here. So, like I said, we don't agree on everything. If we did, that would be kind of weird. It would be kind of strange. But overall, kicking butt and taking names. And if we can take that, right, and we build on it, we have that at a county level, we have it at the federal level, now we need it at the state level. We need to start really getting in there and just it's cutting the waste, cutting the fraud, and calling out these criminals, in many cases that have been elected through. It's not like if you spend a bunch of money, right, and you outspend your opponent, it's the nature of the game, right? But let's be honest, regular people like you and I can never hope to compete with the amount of money that these people have available. The corrupt, all of that. We can't match that. I mean, no way. So we have to do with what we can, right? We have to accept, but what is it? Accept the things we cannot change the things we can. It is the wisdom to know the difference. And that's the hardest part, is knowing the difference between things you can change and things you can't. I am actively working in ways that I know in order to affect the change that I want to see. One of the things that I want to see from us is an educated population. That's what I'm trying to do. Try to present information that I believe is important. And we absolutely should talk about national things because this stuff is going to affect us. It has already. Look at the inflation. Look at the prices of things. But we also need to talk about our local and state governments because there's a lot of room for improvement, a lot of work to be done. I did find something out today. So the bill there's a few bills that are being worked on. One of them, what was it about? I was talking to the county clerk today, and she told me that our senator, Mike Bohacek, was working on a bill in order to bring it more in line with what the people want, right? Rather than what the politicians want. So I was happy to hear about that. I don't remember the exact details. I will get it for you and I'll report. But it was good news because we've seen way, way, way too much of people, especially elected officials, assuming that what they want is what everyone wants. And yes, we are a representative form of government. We are a constitutional representative republic, which means we elect people to go and make decisions on our behalf because direct democracy is bad. We know this. Mob rule is not anything that I want a part of. So we elect these people to go and make decisions on our behalf. However, it is also our job to keep letting these people know what we want, which is why I urge everyone, if possible, and I know it's hard a lot of the times, guys. I know it is. Believe me, it's hard to find the time to attend the meetings. It's hard to find the time to at least watch the meetings on YouTube or whatever streaming platform you use. I know here in LaPorte County, we use Alco, which we spend a lot of money for, in my opinion, quality, but just my opinion. We know that it's out there. The number of views it gets are really disappointing given the size of the county and the population of the county. We can all do better, myself included. I'm going to be focusing, moving in the future, towards reporting on these meetings, on what of note was discussed in them, and breaking it down for you guys. So expect that in the near future. I'm also working on a series where I'm going to try to cover a day in the life of, right? I've spoken to a few of our elected officials about it. Everybody seems to be on board. Basically shadow them for a day and report what they actually do. I think it'll be enlightening. I really do. For a lot of people, for us and for them, because a lot of times they don't get a chance to hear from the majority of the population, right? You'll have those people who that's their entire life is communicating with politicians, right? Letting them know what they want. They're always on every one of their posts. That's normal. You have those people. But most of us, the vast majority of people who watch a YouTube video do not like it, share, subscribe, comment, or even discuss it. They watch it, they digest it, and they move on. Same thing with our elected officials. A lot of people pay attention, but they do not communicate. They might complain on Facebook, but they don't reach out to the elected official themselves. I'm guilty. I've done it, right? I've complained on Facebook, but never once did I send a message to that elected official going, hey, you need to vote such and such on such and such coming up. It's happened. But after it happened, I'm like, why the hell they vote that way? These guys suck. No. But I didn't call the office. The more of us that call them, the more of us that communicate with them, the more of us that make our will known, the harder it is when they're up for re-election to go, oh, I had no idea you guys were against that. Well, now you know. And knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. Yes, I had to finish it. I do all the time. So I think we're up for a very, very interesting period coming up very soon. I think we're going to see panic. A lot of people are panicking already. Speaking of, there's something, if I can find it. The sheer volume of searches for criminal defense lawyers. I can't find it now. It's all right. There are searches for delete, bleach bit, destroy, etc. The full panic mode, full on panic mode. And apparently if you look at the stats, I don't know the numbers, but according to people who know, a huge number, more so than usual, homes are now being listed in the DC metropolitan area for sale, far more than is usual after a regime change or a political party flip in the Capitol. There is a massive number of homes that have suddenly popped on the market. There are also a lot of people that are Googling all kinds of stuff. Lawyers, criminal defense attorneys, statute of limitations has also been Googled a lot. You can see the spikes. I can't find I had it all together, but I can't find it. Wait a minute. Actually, I might know where it is. Hold on. Uno momento, por favor. Please. Let's see here. Is it on my, let's see here. Okay, let's see here. Oh, it's just the same one thing. All right, yeah, I can't find it right now. But if you guys look, it's out there, and it's charts showing the skyrocketing Google search terms that are just, and people are coming up with new ones all the time. They're coming up with other things to look at the search for, and there's panic. There's absolute panic. And what's if you didn't do anything wrong, there's no reason to worry. Now I will say this, as I'm fond of doing, I do try to play devil's advocate, right? And one thing that I will say is there are people that are making a big deal out of the temporary pause on all this aid going out, right? Are we in such a state that our country is literally saving lives with this money across the world? If so, I'd like to hear about it. Tell me what program we're directly funding via USAID that a pause of a few days is going to make the difference between life and death. Because all of the programs that are above board are going to continue. They're not actually stopping. They stopped everything temporarily so they can audit it. It's really hard to do an audit while money's coming in and going out, coming in and going out. I don't know where it is now, but there was some guy in another country whining and complaining because a $1 million payment wasn't made to his wife per the USAID. First of all, who are you? Why is the United States giving you $1 million of a $40 million contract? Blah, 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 blah. None of this has anything to do with saving lives. All of this feels to me like a way to siphon tax dollars from American citizens. But if there is a legitimate reason, if there are truly lives at stake, let me know. We'll talk about it. I love to learn about that kind of stuff. In the meantime, though, we're seeing what it can only be described as glaring corruption in this space, man, between USAID, the HUD, right? All these other and the sheer number of bureaucracies on the Doge website. I didn't even show you guys that. And like I said, Sean and I are we're gonna go through the entire website for you guys when we get a chance. Okay, let me pop this up real quick for you. We're gonna end here soon, but I just want you to look. Workforce. Meet the U.S. government. Trace your tax dollars through the bureaucracy. The executive branch alone, we talked about this the other night on the live stream briefly, but 2.2 million employees of the executive branch of our federal government. 2.25 million people with a total budget, wages, $211.3 billion in wages. The average employee has worked here 10 years, makes $93,828 a year. That must be nice, right? Average employee is 47 years old. Now, here's where it gets absolutely insane. I mean, it's already crazy, let's be honest. But look at this. Cabinet level agencies, 2 million people, 11,400 subordinate offices, $190 billion in wages, right? They haven't brought up, they haven't gotten to these yet, but I'm really excited about it. They haven't gotten to the other two branches. Right now, we're just looking at the executive branch, right? But look at this, cabinet level agencies, 35 cabinet level agencies, 43 large independent agencies, 63 medium independent agencies, and 119 small independent agencies. Look at all these. Arctic Research Commission, Denali Commission, John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, Japan United States Friendship Commission. Why do we need all of this? Look at this. Utah Reclamation, Mitigation, and Conservation Commission. 14 people, $1.3 million in wages for 14 people. And the average employee has worked here 12 years, making $93,000 a year. And the average employee is 54 years old. What? This is insane. Look at all of this. And it shows how many under here. Look at this. Administrative Conference of the United States, 15 under it. Finance and Operations, General Counsel, Research Director, the Assembly. This is what we've been saying for years. An entire bureaucracy built on bureaucracy in order to expand the bureaucracy. It's a self-sustaining thing now, which is why you have to cut the head off the snake. It's the only way. Let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what most Americans voted for the first term. Unfortunately, we saw what happened with that. We saw the level of obstruction, and they're already starting with the impeachment crap again. Al Smith, I think, or whatever his name is, from Georgia or Alabama or something, getting up there talking about, this requires a bottom-up thing. You people have to protest. You've got to complain because they're taking all our money. And that's really what it comes down to, ladies and gentlemen, is they're messing with the money. They're touching the money. So they're not going to stand for that. They're all going to get in line and make sure that stops. But the good news, we now have RFK Jr., Head of Health and Human Services. I don't know about you, but I am super excited for RFK, man. Like super excited because let's face it, the guy knows what he's talking about when it comes to all of America being unhealthy these days. We've gotten lazy, we've gotten fat, we've gotten complacent, and we're not going to do it on our own. And all other stuff aside, yes, there are those who eat healthy. There are those who, do what they're supposed to do. But ultimately, in school, you learn about the food pyramid and all of that stuff. All that stuff has been debunked. It's all garbage. It's not correct. So it's going to take a major shakeup. It's going to take someone like RFK Jr. to get in there and actually clear the room, right? And to actually make it into what it needs to be, which is the foundation for health for our country. These are the people that are supposed to be telling us whether this is good or bad, whether this food is okay, whether these pharmaceuticals are safe. We know how that's working out. If you or anyone you know has, the late night lawyer commercials say it all. All of these drugs were approved by the FDA. Obviously, there's a problem somewhere. I'm excited about RFK Jr., man. I think he's exactly what the system needs. And between him and DJT, I think we're in for a wild ride. It's not going to be fun the whole time. I'm sure there's going to be some issues and hiccups along the way. And I'm here for it. So I hope you guys learned a little something today. I know I did. And I'll see you guys again real soon. I'm going to try to do a video each night over the weekend, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm really busy right now. I can't tell you guys what's going on yet, but I will soon and bring you guys in the loop. Without further ado, God bless you. God bless Indiana. And God bless the United States of America. I hope you have a wonderful evening. See you real soon. Good night.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers, Sean Holgram and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2024. Dion's Daily Dose, all rights reserved.